This video is brought to you by Squarespace. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new tier list ranking video where I'm going to be doing something a little different. I've never done something like this, and if this actually hits, this might be something that I do every single year going forward. So I've seen a number of my friends and peers do something similar to this where they have taken a slate of films that have been announced for release in 2025 and they have ranked them on a tier ranking based off of where they think they're going to land as far as box office return. But since I'm not overly passionate or maybe even overly insightful when it comes to box office stuff, I thought I would take that concept and do something a little different with it. And so I'm going to rank this off of my actual movie rating system and make a prediction off of what I think this movie is going to do, where I think it's going to land for me when I eventually see it and review it. So there's not really going to be anything here that's set in stone, that's based in fact. I'm just going to be taking what I assume about these movies based off of the property, based off of the trailer if we've gotten one, maybe based off of other movies in the franchise, whatever I know about these films, and give somewhat of an educated guess on how well I think it's going to do for me when I actually see it. So I've got about 64, 65 different movies here. I only picked the ones that I knew something about them. Of course, there's way more than 65 movies coming out next year. There's still plenty of them that have yet to be announced. There's a lot of them that I just didn't recognize the title or didn't recognize the person that's in it. And Lord knows a lot of my favorite movies of the year are going to end up being probably some of those films that I'm not already in the know about, but most of these are franchise films or ones that I'm already looking forward to or ones that they've announced and been talking about for a while. And while my rating system is pretty self-explanatory, just for the sake of doing it, let's talk about the different tiers that we're going to be having today, of which we have 5. The bottom one is fuck this movie. That is a rating that I only give to movies that are not only bad, but just offend me and grind the fuck out of my gears as a movie fan for some reason. That's my lowest rating. It's a movie that's not only something that I don't recommend you see, it's something that I actively have some kind of disdain for whatever reason. We have Skip It, which is a film that I just honestly don't think is worth your time or your money, and so that's my recommendation. Stream It, which is where most movies unfortunately lie oftentimes, and this is where it's worth checking out. It's good. It's passable entertainment, or there's something there, but maybe it's just a little bit flawed in the execution, but it's worth checking out. You don't have to rush out to go see it. We have See It in Theaters, which is a rating that I don't use very often, and it's pretty much just for movies that I think are definitely worth seeing, aren't necessarily top tier, awesome, you have to put it in your physical media collection, but something that there's something about the cinematic experience that it brings that you're going to have the best experience with it watching it on the big screen, whether it be CGI spectacle, whether it's, IMAX quality, something like that. And then you have Go Out and Buy It, which are the top tier for me. These are movies that are so good that you not only need to rush out and see it immediately, but it's going to be a mainstay. You're going to want to buy it and watch it over and over and over again. So we're going to make an assumption, have a little bit of fun here, try not to cast too much unfair judgment on these films, but just me knowing my taste, give a little bit of a fun guess here. Maybe at the end of the year, we'll revisit this tier list and see how well I did. Starting off, we've got Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, I think is the other thing there. I still have not seen this film. That's also important to note. There's a couple of January films in here that it's possible this video is going to release after they've technically been released, but as of the recording of this video, I have not seen a single movie on this list. Den of Thieves, Pantera, I liked the first movie okay, but I never thought it was as awesome as everybody else did, and I have not been overly won over by the trailers here, so I'm going to stick it and Stream It. It could surprise me, or it could be very much in the vein of the first film where I have a decent enough time with it, but it doesn't really stick with me. That's where I assume that one's going to fall for me. Now we have Wolfman, which is one of my most anticipated films of the year, and I'm supposed to be seeing it in 2 days, so we'll find out very quickly how much my assumption works on this one, but going purely off of my faith in Leigh Whannell and my experience with this film so far, I'm sticking this one up into Go Out and Buy It. Hey everybody, Cody from the future here. I tried to pay Daniel Stern to do this little voiceover, but he didn't return my calls, so you're stuck with me. And I guess the lesson that we learn here is that it's always good to be optimistic, but sometimes life can just crush you into the dust with disappointment. All we can hope for is that this was just a minor speed bump on the road to an awesome year of movies of 2025. And if it's not, God help us all. I really want this movie to succeed. I want it to be awesome. I want it to be a great reinvention of the werewolf movies. I want to see more werewolf films come out after this. and I love what Lee Winnell does. So I've stayed away from the trailers. I can't give any insight based off of what I've seen in the advertisement because I haven't seen any of it, but I'm hoping it's going to be up there, and I'm pretty confident that it will be. Now we have Flight Risk, and by the way, these are all in release order, if I didn't say that. So we're going from January all the way to December, and then a slate of films that haven't had a release date slated yet. Flight Risk is a bit of an interesting one, because based off of the trailer, it's not something that necessarily grabs me right away. Some kind of like a thriller where Mark Wahlberg's a villain, and you got Topher Grace, and they're up in the air in an airplane. But this is directed by Mel Gibson, which is kind of strange because he's only ever directed like these big epics. But what's interesting about this one is that I think maybe this is him doing something a little bit smaller, trying to get a feel for how he's going to do Lethal Weapon 5. Because for those that don't know, not only have they been talking about a Lethal Weapon 5 for a very long time, but not too long ago, Mel Gibson said that it was after the death of Richard Donner that he is going to be doing the 5th film as like a promise that he made to Donner, that to close it out, to do one more and, you know, send it off into the sunset or whatever. So whether or not it actually happens, I don't know. But I feel like him doing something small like this is him kind of getting a feel for that before he does Lethal Weapon, possibly. Maybe I'm wrong. But based off of the premise of the film, I don't know how great it's going to be. Mel Gibson has not made anything but awesome films. But I'm going to stick it and stream it. I don't know. Something about it just feels a little off to me. Maybe it's as simple as Hollywood doesn't like working with Mel Gibson, and so they're not going to give him what he needs to make Hacksaw Ridge type movies anymore, so he's doing something like this. We'll see. Maybe I'll be surprised by it. Now we have Presence, and this is a film by Steven Soderbergh and also written by David Koepp, who has done a couple of movies that I really enjoy. And they've got a couple movies coming out this year. This is the one that I put on the list because it's got an interesting premise. It's about a couple of people that move into a house and they feel like there's some kind of malevolent presence in the house, but the movie is actually told in first person from that malevolent spirit or whatever it is. So sounds kind of like In a Violent Nature, something like that, but a little bit more supernatural. Steven Soderbergh's an interesting director. So I'm going to put this one and stream it as well because I feel like it's going to be one of those movies that's an interesting experience, but I probably would never watch it again. Now we have Screamboat. My track record's not so good when it comes to these public domain, childhood character horror films. The only thing that gives me a little bit of interest in Screamboat is that it's done by a few of the people behind the Terrifier films. You've got Fuzz on the Lens Productions, which is the Levy brothers, who are producers on Terrifier 2 and 3. Michael Levy was the writer-director of Stream. You got David Howard Thornton in here playing Steamboat Willie, and just yesterday they released a screenshot of what he's actually going to look like, and wow, it's either going to be magnificently campy and ridiculous, or it's going to be shockingly bad. I really don't know. Based off of my track record, my interest level in something like this, even trying to give a little bit of faith in the people behind this, who I'm a fan of, I still think I'm going to put this and skip it. I just don't see myself liking the Screamboat movie. I don't think it's going to be for me. It could surprise me, but I don't think it's going to be for me. Now we have Companion, and I don't know almost anything about this film. I've heard a lot of great buzz about it from some of my friends. They've shown posters and a couple of other things that gives me that gives the impression that she's some kind of like a robot, maybe like a sex doll or something. So hopefully that's not like a big spoiler that they're ruining with the marketing. But all I've heard is amazing buzz, and so I think this is going to go out and buy it. This just feels like a movie that's going to be like I think people were comparing it to Barbarian. And I loved Barbarian. So it's comparing it to it in the fact of like it's this movie that kind of comes out of nowhere and then just freaks everybody out. And then other people absolutely hate it. So I hope I'm on the good end of it. Whether you're a content creator, a small business owner, or just somebody who wants to express their creativity to the world, having your own website is absolutely crucial. But when it comes to building your own website, even somebody like me who has pretty extensive computer knowledge, I wouldn't even know where to start. Well, Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for creatives and entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Squarespace's new design intelligence empowers anyone to build a beautiful personalized website tailored to their unique needs. And with their Blueprint AI, you can answer a few questions questions about your brand and have a fully custom template to interact with and fine-tune to your needs. They even allow you to easily sell access to content like blogs, online courses, or videos. And by using Squarespace Payments, you can manage your payments all in one place and give your customers all their favorite ways to pay, such as Klarna, Apple Pay, and even ACH direct deposit. So if you're ready to kickstart your online presence, head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Cody Leach to save 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain using code Cody Leach. And thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Now we have Kinda Pregnant. No. Look, this is a movie that I honestly don't even know if I'm going to watch it. It's a Happy Madison production. That's Adam Sandler's company. It's a Netflix film. I don't have any hate for her necessarily, but I don't understand for the life of me why we keep trying to make Amy Schumer a thing. I don't think she's funny at all. And obviously some people do. She's very successful as a comedian. She's had plenty of movies as an actress, but I just don't get the appeal with her. I'd never seen a movie with her, maybe aside from, what the hell was that movie she did with Apatow that was decent with Bill Hader? But I just don't get the appeal with her. I don't think she's funny, and I don't think that she's that great of an actress. And this premise seems extremely stupid to me. So I saw the trailer for this and just went, no, sorry, nope. That's what comedy has become, and I hate that. Now we have Heart Eyes. This is the new holiday slasher film. Again, I have not watched a trailer. I try not to watch too many trailers for horror films specifically anymore because they give away too much. I'm going to stick this one and stream it. I think that there's potential that it could actually be a nice little surprise, but I also don't have the best track record when it comes to holiday slasher films. They tend to be, more of them than not, tend to be very generic. You get the oddball that really goes for it, like Thanksgiving or, of course, like Black Christmas. But a lot of them, like Valentine, I'm not even a big fan of My Bloody Valentine. So that tells you my track record. I think it's going to be in the middle for me. Captain America Brave New World. Oh boy. I'm going to try to speak this into existence and say see it in theaters. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as the other Captain America films. I just don't think it's in the cards for it. I think that inherently the concept of it not being Steve Rogers is going to hold a lot of that back. Like, I like Sam Wilson as a character a lot, but he's not the same. He doesn't have the same type of charm as Steve Rogers does. And they've advertised the fuck out of the Red Hulk thing, which seems like it's going to be the entire climax of the movie. So it almost feels like they're giving away the coolest part of the movie in the marketing. Of course, we all know this thing has gone through reshoot hell. So there's a very good chance that it can end up much lower on the list. But I'm going to try to will it into existence that it's at least going to be really good, worth checking out, worth going out and putting your money down. So we're going to stick it there. Now we have The Gorge. And The Gorge was a movie that was on my honorable mentions of my most anticipated of the year because I love the premise, where you have two snipers that are assigned from different countries to watch over this gorge, and the gorge is apparently like the gate from hell. But the trailer doesn't really lean too much into the horror side of that concept. It more so leans into like the romance side of it, which is interesting, but I'm going to be disappointed if we don't get some kind of horror elements out of this. And it's an Apple TV Plus movie. And while Apple has very good quality with some of their stuff, like they've done a Martin Scorsese movie and things like that, anytime I see straight to streaming, I just automatically have to have less faith in it. So while I hope it's awesome, I feel like it's going to bum me out a little bit and it's going to end up in stream it. So I'm going to stick it there. Hopefully the entire list doesn't end up in stream it. It's always a safe bet, but nonetheless. Now we have The Monkey. This is the new Osgood Perkins film. And Osgood Perkins has got an interesting track record so far where, Blackcoat's Daughter I found incredibly boring. It was near the bottom of my 31 on 31. Might have been 31. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But Long Legs was very good. The Monkey seems like something that's going to be very silly. And I've heard from people who have seen it that it is still very dark and gory and fucked up, but it's a lot more fun than his other two films. And that sounds like it's going to be up my alley. So I am going to put this and go out and buy it because it just sounds like it's going to be a nice mix of fun and fucked up. And that's pretty cool. Now we have Mickey 17. This is the new film by the director of Parasite. And it looks ultra trippy, science fiction-y. It could go either way with me when it comes to stuff like that. It could be wildly imaginative and something that I absolutely love, like Inception. It could be way too weird and something that I watch once and go, okay, that's enough for me. But based purely off of the visuals that I've seen so far, I think it's going to land in a see it in theaters, where it's not necessarily a rewatch movie, but definitely go check it out and experience it. Now we have Novocaine, which I have not watched the trailer for, but I know the concept of. I'm a fan of Jack Quaid, essentially an action movie where he doesn't feel any pain. This seems like it's going to really be my type of thing, so I am hoping it's going to be a go out and buy it. I love movies like this, and as long as they nail the action and the comedy, that's absolutely going to be up my alley. Now we have Snow White, and I don't think it's going to be offensive on the level of fuck this movie, but I definitely don't think I'm going to enjoy it, so I'm going to put it and skip it for a lot of reasons. Look, first of all, I'm not really a fan of the whole live-action Disney remake craze that we are in, that, you know, all of us say we don't want anymore, but yet all of them make almost $1 billion. So somebody wants them. And of course, there's all the drama and the behind the scenes stuff with this one, and Rachel Zegler and everything. And, you know, I don't necessarily want to jump on the train of hating on her, because a lot of people say stupid things when you put a microphone in front of their face. I just get, I get a bad taste in my mouth whenever I see, whether it's an actor, a director, or the studio themselves trying to like sell us something based off of nostalgia and then shitting on the thing that we're nostalgic for. Like, why would we want to see a new version of Snow White aside from the fact that we have great memories and we have love for the original? I mean, this was the first full-length animated film. I'm pretty certain it won Oscars. So it's a beloved film. Could it be dated? Sure, but you don't have to lead with that. And the way that they're telling us they're modernizing it just makes it sound like another kind of more modern take on things, and I just don't know if that's going to add anything to the movie, or it's more certainly going to take things away. I don't know. But regardless, even if this was a completely faithful version of Snow White, I wouldn't have much interest in it, so that's why you haven't seen me be up in arms about it. I'm not the target audience anyway. A Minecraft movie. I hate to do this, but I honestly think this might be fuck this movie level. Like, first of all, again, I am not the target audience for this. I have never played Minecraft once. I have never had the interest in watching or playing Minecraft with somebody, and the trailer just looked absolutely stupid. It doesn't look like my type of humor whatsoever. So this is either going to be a movie that its target audience loves and everybody else is a little bit puzzled by, or it's going to be something that comes out and everybody just goes, oh my God, what a horrific movie that was. Now we have Sinners. This is the new Ryan Coogler film that is supposedly going to be vampires. They haven't put that in stone yet, and I got to assume this is going to be a go out and buy it for me. I love vampire films. You guys know that about me at this point. I think that this movie very easily could give me everything that I want from a new modern film, a new modern vampire film. Of course, Ryan Coogler, I just have faith in him because I've liked every single one of his movies. Some of them I love. Michael B. Jordan's awesome. Him playing two different characters is very cool. Have it be like a period piece in, it was shot in Louisiana. I don't know if it actually takes place in Louisiana. It just looks totally up my alley. And I have seen the trailer, but they haven't shown very much, and that also gives me a lot of faith that they're not trying to like ruin the movie for us because they don't have a whole lot to surprise us with. Now we have The Accountant 2. This one's tricky. It almost feels like it's not even real because they've been talking about doing this movie. It's been rumored forever. It's coming out this year. We still don't have any kind of a trailer or anything for it. So I don't know. This is a weird one. I really enjoyed the first film. It wasn't go out and buy it level for me, even the first film. I thought it was a few too many twists by the end of it. I don't know if they're going to get quite that twisty with this one. It kind of feels like they can go a little bit more straightforward with it. But I think it's going to be on the high end of this. I think it's going to be a stream it. There's just something about it. The fact that they're not like loading trailers already, something about it just makes me feel like they don't have the best idea for a sequel or something. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. Until Dawn. This is another one that's weird. And I'm glad I did this video today instead of yesterday like I planned to, because they released a little behind the scenes thing that showed a little bit of what they're actually going for here. Now, Until Dawn is a video game that I liked, but I was not crazy about it. And so I'm not like a super fan. And then I heard not too long ago that they're going to be doing a totally new story. They're not actually going to be adapting the story of the video game. And I just immediately get turned off when I hear that. And it puzzles me how many video game fans champion that, despite how many awful video game movies we have had that all take that approach. Let's just borrow the name and we'll do some stuff that's kind of like the video game, but not bother actually translating the source material. Why do you want that? It makes no sense to me. If you have an awesome, proven story in a video game, What makes you think that you can do better than that? Like, it just puzzles me. And the few times we've gotten really good video game adaptations like The Last of Us, I know not everybody loved The Last of Us, but most of us did. The Last of Us was incredibly faithful, like to a T. Some liberties taken, but 85, 90% exactly like the game. So it's a wonder why it was so successful. So when I heard that, I was like, why? Why are we still doing this? It's like the death of 1,000 cuts with you guys. It's like the fucking definition of insanity. Stop doing this. But then we got this little featurette today where it showed David F. Sandberg and a few other people talking about what the premise of the movie actually is. And I gotta be honest, it sounds like it could be cool. It sounds like it could be interesting, where they're doing like almost like a Happy Death Day thing, where they're taking the choice mechanic of the game, incorporating it into the plot, where you get these characters that die and then the time resets and they get to do it again. That could be cool. It could be cool. I still have pause about it because it's a video game adaptation and because they're not translating the story directly, but it could be. So I'm going to stick it and stream it. I have faith in it, but if it turns out that it sucks, immediately I'm going to turn to everybody on Twitter who was like, no, why? I don't want to see the same story again. Why would I want that? Because that's what an adaptation is. Do book fans say that? No. Why do video games fans say that? It drives me nuts. Anyway, Thunderbolts. This one, I'm of two minds with this one. The trailer looked very entertaining. I like a lot of the characters that are involved here. But I'm kind of burnt out on the Suicide Squad thing. You know, we got, not to say that Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy are the same. They're very different, but same kind of like ragtag group of people, little ensemble thing. We got 3 Guardians of the Galaxy films. We got 2 Suicide Squad films. Now we're getting like the Suicide Squad of Marvel. I don't know. I'm kind of burnt on that concept a bit, but the trailer looked very entertaining. And the fact that it's supposed to be like a little bit of a smaller scale thing. It's not this, epic world ending. Gives me a little faith that it might actually be a nice surprise. So I'm also going to stick this one and see it in theaters. I think it's going to be worthy of that. Now we have Final Destination Bloodlines, and this one is also going to go into Stream It. I hope that it surprises me, but more Final Destination movies than not, I think, are, middle of the road, high middle of the road, somewhere in there. And it's taken so long to get this film. The fact that we don't have trailers or anything yet, I don't know. There's something about it that just feels like it's going to be cool. It's going to be interesting, but it's not going to be like this awesome, like revitalization, this revival of Final Destination. I think it's just going to be like, okay, that was a good time. It doesn't help that I do know a couple of people that have seen the film, and that's essentially what they said. Like, it's good. It's fun. It wasn't like this overly enthusiastic type of review. Granted, it was a test screening, so things will change, but I think it's going to be a middle of the road film. I think it's very safe to assume that. Now we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, and this one, I think there's no chance it's not going to be a go out and buy it. I would give go out and buy it to basically every Mission Impossible film except for maybe the first 2, which I still really like those movies. And so, I loved the last number of them. I think that almost without exception, they've only gotten better since Mission Impossible 3. Of course, I have my preference of certain things within there, but they're all like top tier, and they always try to find ways to top themselves. And I thought the last one was fantastic, so I want to see how they wrap it up, and yeah, I think it's going to be great. Lilo and Stitch. For everything that I said about Snow White, I've always been a fan of Lilo and Stitch. It came out right at the right age. It was Lilo and Stitch and Scooby-Doo, the movie that James Gunn had a hand in writing, that came out around the same time. And I've always found Lilo and Stitch to be a lot of fun. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've always enjoyed the character. And I think that it's actually going to be a fun live action, CGI, whatever you want to call it, remake. So I have faith in this one. I'm going to stick it and see it in theaters. I think there's a lot of potential that this could be really fun. Karate Kid Legends. I might break some hearts, but I think this is going to be an okay movie. I don't understand why we need this. I really don't. I love Karate Kid. I love Cobra Kai. Certainly feel like they've ran out of steam. They should have ended a season ago, but I don't really understand the appeal of springboarding right off the end of Cobra Kai after 6 years of that show into yet another Karate Kid film that's kind of going for the same thing. Like, let's have a sensei, let's have a kid who's having a hard time, and let's teach him the way of life through karate. I don't know. The trailer just didn't do anything for me. Is it going to be cool to see Ralph Macchio on the big screen? Sure. Is it going to be cool to see Jackie Chan team up with him? I guess. I'm not a huge fan of the Jaden Smith movie, but this one, I don't know. For a big Karate Kid fan, it just kind of feels like they're milking it. It doesn't feel like there's actually a point to this movie. So we'll see. Maybe they'll surprise me. The Life of Chuck. I don't honestly know enough about this film, so I'm giving it this rating specifically based off of the director and the fact that it's sci-fi and not going to be the typical horror thing. I think it's going to be a see it in theaters. I don't know if it's going to be a visual kind of film, and if it's not, then it's going to get knocked down probably to stream it, but I don't know enough about it. I couldn't find anything aside from that picture and Mike Flanagan, of course. I've known that he's directing it, and that it's supposed to be some kind of a sci-fi take on like 3 different chapters of this guy's life. Of his name is Chuck. So I'm much more of a Mike Flanagan TV fan than I am a Mike Flanagan movie fan. Aside from Dr. Sleep, I think that's incredible. But I've not been overly crazy about any of his films outside of Dr. Sleep. So we'll see, but I'm excited to see him do something outside of the horror genre. Now we have Ballerina. And this is another one that I think is going to be a safe bet for see it in theaters, just because there's such a cool visual style to the John Wick world, to the action. I don't think it plays as well when you watch it at home, but spinoffs, and even what we've gotten so far from this franchise with the TV series that they had, the Continental, I couldn't get into that at all. Spinoffs don't always have the best track record. The trailer looks good. I like Ana de Armas. I really like the John Wick film, so very easily this could be a go out and buy it. But I think it's safe to assume it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Just something that, based off the action, I'm going to say see it on the big screen. How to Train Your Dragon. This is another one that's kind of in that Lilo and Stitch territory where I really enjoy those movies. I don't necessarily, again, understand the point of doing these CGI remakes when you can just go watch the animated films. Like things that are super old, like Snow White, I understand that a little bit more because it's been decades. But How to Train Your Dragon 1, 2, and 3 aren't that old. So that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause about that one. But I think it's probably going to be entertaining for fans. I think it's probably going to look really good. So I'm going to stick that one and see it in theaters too. I just hope a lot of these remakes aren't just going to be like literal shot-for-shot remakes just on live action. I hope they do some things to merit the different medium that we're seeing it in. Take a little bit of liberties with it. 28 years later, I'm going to be willing this into existence. This is going to be go out and buy it all day long. I've been waiting so long for this movie, and I just know it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. It's going to fucking be awesome. The fact that they already have a planned trilogy tells me that they have a lot of faith in this, that they know what they're doing. The trailer was fantastic, so I have no reason to doubt this. I think it's going to be one of the best films of the year. Now we have F1, and this one's a pretty easy see it in theaters. I don't necessarily have an interest in this story, in this concept. I think that there was a lot of hubbub about it on like Twitter and things about the amount of money they spent on it. I don't remember if that was debunked or not, but it's a very expensive movie that they're banking on hard. And I think it's probably going to be visually awesome. Story-wise, I just don't really get into racing movies too much. That's just me. Megan 2.0. I like Megan. I'm not crazy about Megan. It's possible they could do a much better sequel. They could lean into things, make it a lot more fun, and it could rise up a bit more. But I'm going to give it the same rating that I gave the other one. Stream it. I don't like the fact that they're PG-13, but it's a business decision. So, yeah, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure it's going to be fun. Nothing else to say. Jurassic World Rebirth. Okay. This one's tough, because I did not enjoy at all the last 2 Jurassic World films. But the director here, Gareth Edwards, visually always does a great job. But even with him, I have a bit of a spotty track record with him. I do not like his Godzilla film. I appreciate his first film, Monsters, but it's not something I'd ever watch again. Rogue One certainly has its merit, but not something I've ever had the desire to rewatch. And The Creator, again, I enjoyed, but was not nearly as crazy about it as everybody else. I thought it was a very derivative sci-fi film that just looked amazing. So I have a lot of faith that it's going to look incredible. Whether or not it's going to be this return to form for Jurassic World or Jurassic Park has yet to be seen. But based off of what I know about what Gareth Edwards can do with the visuals, I think this is going to be a see it in theaters type movie. I'm pretty positive it's going to be better than the last 2, but how much better, we'll see. Superman, please, God, be a go out and buy it. Please, God. Look, I don't want to live in a world where this movie sucks and bombs, and now we have another rebooted DC universe that starts in turmoil. I want this thing to go so well. The trailers looked really good. There's certainly things that I have a bit of concern about. I don't know how crypto is going to work. I'm not somebody that even knows like crypto as a character. Having all the other superhero characters makes me think maybe it'll be a little overstuffed, but hopefully not. I just hope it's going to be good. I really do. I hope this is going to be a nice surprise for a lot of people that have skepticism about it. I hope it's so good that even the Snyder Bros have to admit that it's good. Now we have the reboot for I Know What You Did Last Summer. I don't know enough about it yet, but I'm not a massive fan of the first two. Like, there's a bit of nostalgia there, but they've never been anywhere close to my favorite franchise. And what gives me concern here is that the only thing that would excite me about this is Jennifer Love and Freddie Prinze coming back to reprise their characters, but I don't think they're going to be in the movie much at all. They might be killed off in the opening scene. That might be somebody that shows up in the third act. Like, they've already said, like, they've been shooting the movie. I don't know if we're in it or not. We can't quite lock it down. And so I think this might be a skip it. I hope that it surprises me. It's not something I'm going to get super excited about no matter what, but I don't know. There's something about it that just kind of feels like let's bank off of some name recognition for the hell of it. Fantastic Four First Steps. I've never been a huge Fantastic Four fan, to be honest with you. And it intrigues me that it's going to be in the 60s, but at the same time, I don't exactly know how that's going to work, like what this is going to be. So if I start to see more, like if we finally get a trailer, this could rise significantly. But I feel like I'm going to be on the lower end of this one. I don't know why. There's just something about it that just feels like it's going to be a little too goofy for me. So I'm going to stick it and stream it. Very easily, it could go in to see it in theaters or go out and buy it if it's just really fucking good. But I've just never been a Fantastic Four fan. I've always found them to be very silly characters. Now we have The Naked Gun, and there was no art for this. So this is just the original poster, but this is a remake with Liam Neeson. I'm not a spoof comedy fan, so I'm not going to get excited for this, and I can't process in my brain Liam Neeson doing a Leslie Nielsen role. Now, it's just bizarre enough that it could be genius. It could absolutely just surprise me and blow my mind, but I'm just going to go with my track record of not liking spoof comedies, and I think it's going to be a skip it. I don't think I'm going to be the target audience for this. Now we have Disney's Freakier Friday, and I don't know if this is going to be theatrical or Disney Plus. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Disney Plus. I was just outside of the age group that grew up with the original Freaky Friday, or not the original, the previous iteration with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. So I'm not of the age to get like super excited for nostalgia for this. I was already like kind of off my Disney era. So for that reason, I don't have a lot of excitement for it, and I don't really know what they're going to do here. Like, they're just going to swap bodies again. It's just going to be like a, hey, they're back together, which is going to be completely an experience that banks on nostalgia that I don't have. So I'm going to stick it and stream it. Now we have Nobody 2. This was my favorite movie of the year that it came out. I have no reason to expect this one's not going to be awesome too, so this one goes right up into go out and buy it. I cannot wait to see what they do with this. I love the fact they're doing another one, even though the first one wasn't massively successful. Can't wait. Shelby Oaks. This is Chris Stuckman's film that's supposed to come out at some point this year. This one's a little complicated because on one hand, I want to champion Chris being a filmmaker. I think that it's awesome that he's able to do that. I think it's awesome, if nothing else, just because he's kicking open a door for a lot of us that might want to do something like this one day. There's things that I know about the concept of the film that certainly intrigue me, but it got mixed reviews out of the film festivals. Now, I think they probably are editing it and doing some things to it. That's why they pushed the release of it back, and they stopped showing it at other festivals. It didn't come to Fantastic Fest. But a lot of what I heard was that like the first half of the movie is very good. The second half of the movie feels like a lot of homage to other things, and that's something that bugs me sometimes. So I don't know. This could be awesome, and I hope that it's awesome. But for now, I'm going to stick it and stream it. It's not going to be a bad thing for Chris Stuckman's first movie to be something that ends up in the middle of my rating system, because for a first-time movie, that's That's pretty commendable, but we'll see. I hope he surprises us. The Conjuring Last Rites, I'm going to put it in skip it. I don't know. I was forgiving on the last one. The Devil Made Me Do It, and I have since grown to really not like that film. And they're having the same director back, even though that one got massively lower reviews than the first two one. Like, I don't really understand the point of doing the Conjuring films without James Wan. I feel like they've botched this franchise. I know it's massively successful, so what the fuck do I know? But for me, it should have always been James Wan kind of holding it, the tether to the Conjuring films as like the kind of like the Avengers of this universe, the big event films. And people like David F. Sandberg, a few others have made some good movies in there in the middle, but they have a lot of shit in this franchise. And ever since they handed, like, the movies that got the lowest rating, as far as I understand, the ones that I understand people like the least, you give that guy the Conjuring movies, I don't know. Maybe it'll be good, but I'm not excited for it. Saw 11. This one's complicated because it kind of feels like this movie's not going to come out, and I don't understand why. We haven't seen anything official from the studio, but I've seen nothing but rumors and, insiders saying that they're getting cold feet and they're not really, the studio doesn't have faith in what the writers of Saw X want to do for Saw 11 and forward. I saw somebody did a rumor or some kind of an insider statement that they're actually shopping it around to like Blumhouse and a few others to try to get them to buy it from Lionsgate. It feels like it's not going to come out because I'm not hearing anything about a script being done, anything going in front of cameras, and, not to be dark, but time's a ticking when it comes to Tobin Bell. So I don't know, man. The fact that they didn't know what they wanted to do with Saw 11 after the massive success of Saw X really frustrates me because that got me back on board. And now it feels like they had no idea what to do next. And now we're just like, oh, we're going to do another one because it was successful, but we don't know what the fuck to do. So I hate this, but I'm going to stick it and stream it. If they had an idea, which it seemed like they had directions they wanted to go, they leave things open in Saw X. I don't know. I'm just so confused with this one. I'm sticking it and stream it because the production issues doesn't bode well for it. Now we have Michael, and man, this one is going to be a firestorm when it comes out, is it not? This is the Michael Jackson biopic that's directed by Antoine Fuqua, if I'm not mistaken. Michael is such a complicated figure because he's the biggest pop star of all time. He's the top-selling music artist of all time, or at least he was for a long time. Maybe that's changed, but I know that Thriller is the top-selling album of all time. But he also has all that controversy because of the accusations, and, I don't know if they're true, I don't know if they're not, but you can't mention Michael without both of those things popping up into your head. And I don't know what this biopic is going to do to address that. If you address that side of things, then you're going to have all the Michael fans that are going to go out in droves to see this pissed off at you because they're passionately non-believers about the accusations. If you don't include it, you're going to have everybody that believes it or at least thinks that it could happen shitting on the movie because now you're trying to glossify it and kind of rewrite history and act like that's not a part of him. Regardless, I will tell you, I think this movie has the potential to be like a $2 billion film. I mean, $1 billion easy. Maybe it'll bomb. Maybe it'll be, it's a wild card, man, but I feel like Michael is so fucking popular. And for how much money these biopics make when they focus on artists like this and they're good, this could be a $1 billion plus, maybe even approaching $2 billion film. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But will it be good? Will it be for me? I feel like it's going to be one of those see it in theaters experiences. Michael, regardless of what you believe or don't believe, is a fascinating human being. And there's just so much you could do with his story to make an incredible looking film. And Antoine Fuqua was a fantastic director. So I don't know. It's going to be a fucking minefield to review when it comes out. It's going to be a whole barrel of controversy no matter what. But I think it's going to be one of those films, if you take all of that stuff out of it, it's probably going to be a really good movie. We'll see. Tron Ares. Not for me. I'm not a fan of the first two. So, yeah. I'm going to go down to skip it, honestly. I don't know. We'll do stream it. I think it's going to be okay, but I don't think it's going to like be this awesome film that's going to make me a massive fan of the franchise. I'm just not a Tron guy. So now we have the Black Phone 2. I love the first one, but I just don't know what the second one's going to be. I don't know if it's a prequel. I don't know if it's a sequel. I don't know how they're going to continue this story. I don't know what the fuck's happening. And the last time we got a sequel, now they did not stay on as the same creative team, but the last time we got a sequel to these guys' work, it was Sinister 2. That didn't work out so well. And I know some things behind the scenes about why it didn't work out so well. And yeah, I won't get into all of that. But you have the same director, the same writer staying on board for this one. So that gives me a lot more faith. Again, I'm going to try to will this into existence and say go out and buy it. Because the first one was so fucking good. And there's a lot of potential to do something cool there. It's just a matter of how they're going to explain it. They have an inherent supernatural thing in there. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to do something wild and weird with it. It's just a matter of what they do and how they do it. Mortal Kombat 2. I really enjoyed the first one when I first saw it. And I think a lot of that was just excitement because it was middle of COVID and it felt like we weren't getting movies. And it was just like, oh my God, something watchable. Thank you. On rewatch, it's not quite as high as a rating as I gave it. I wish I could retract that a little bit, but I still really enjoyed it. And I have heard from people that have seen a test screening of this that this is more the type of movie that everybody was asking for with the tournament and everything. And so just with that alone, I think it's going to be a see it in theaters. I think it's going to be a fun movie that's going to have a lot of cool gore and have that tournament style in there. Whether or not they have a story is the big question mark for me. Now we have Predator Badlands, another one that I really hope is going to be a see it in theaters. I think that the story here, the director attached to it, the track record after Prey. I mean, can you imagine if we saw Prey on the big screen, how fucking awesome that was going to be? So Predator Badlands, I think it's going to be damn good. Now we have The Running Man. This is a film where Edgar Wright is going to be doing his own version of this story. And we've got Glenn Powell as the lead. This is another one that I think is going to be awesome. I think that that story with Edgar Wright's style, when he does something that's my type of thing, I really enjoy it. Like, I adore Baby Driver. I'm not as high on his Cornetto trilogy just because I'm not big onto the British humor. It just doesn't really translate for me. I really enjoy Hot Fuzz of the three. But if this is along that same original story, but Edgar Wrightified, I think that's just something that's going to really be up my alley. Now You See Me 3. Stream it. I've never been a big fan of these movies. I don't understand. Like, I know they're successful, but I think they're very mediocre. Even the first one. So I don't expect the third one to be much better. Wicked for Good. I think this is going to be a see it in theaters for me. Maybe it'll be significantly better than the first one. And a lot of people think the first one is one of the best movies of the year. It was a surprise for me. I couldn't quite go that high on it. It was not like, I think it was like in the 30s or something like that when I ranked it, which is still pretty fucking high compared to, it was 130 films in the top 30. But I'm not a big musical guy. The first one, I had a little bit of mixed feelings on how the story played out, but it's all going to depend on how they pay it off here. And everybody in my comment section says, "Oh, you'll like what they do here. Like that'll go away when you see how everything is paid off." So I'm going off of your guys' recommendation with this one. I think I'll enjoy it, and visually it was incredible. So it'll definitely be a see it in theaters, but will it be a go out and buy it? We shall see. Zootopia 2. I loved the first one, so I assume I'm going to love this one. I thought the first one was so good, and that one I think even won the Oscar that year, and I was cheering for it all the way. So yes, I don't know anything about the story, but I really am excited to go back to that one. I enjoy that world. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and we'll stick it and stream it. The first one was okay. Second one, I don't know if they're going to address some of the concerns from the first one. It was very successful, so they don't exactly have like a massive motivation to do that. They're still going to make money hand over fist because FNAF fans are crazy passionate. But yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be middle of the road. Avatar, Fire, and Ash. I think this one is a very big shoe-in for see it in theaters. I'm not a massive Avatar fan. I think the movies are good to watch once, and after that, I really don't get anything out of them. I don't think that I am on board at all for 3 more of these things. Fire and Ash sounds a lot more badass than The Way of Water, So I think it might be a little darker of a chapter. Maybe it'll be a little cooler. Nonetheless, it's going to be incredible to watch on the big screen, as Way of Water was, as the first one was. I mean, these are theme park rides, and that's exactly what they're intended to be. But story-wise, they always kind of let me down a little bit. So will that be better this time? If it is, then it might go up and to go out and buy it. But no matter what, even if the story is mediocre, it's going to be something that I'm going to walk out and say, yep, you need to go see this. Don't expect a lot in the story department, but you're going to have your fucking balls blown off by the visuals. Now we have Anaconda, and I don't know anything about this film aside from Jack Black and Paul Rudd are starring in it, and I've got the inkling that it's going to be rated R. I don't know if they've announced that or not, but their announcement video, Jack Black was cussing and everything. He said, oh, big fucking snake. So that makes me think it's going to be rated R. So a rated R horror comedy creature feature with Jack Black and Paul Rudd, that sounds awesome. It could be garbage. It could be horrible, but that sounds like a lot of fun to me. So I'm going to put, is it going to be go out and buy it? Fuck it. Let's say go out and buy it. We're going to give it the fucking power of faith here. I don't see enough awesome horror comedies, and Jack Black has got a very spotty track record here lately. And, he's down at the bottom there. He's got to fuck this movie and to go out and buy it on my thing. So that tells you everything. But that sounds like if they do it right, that could be one of my favorite movies of the year. Return of the Living Dead. I don't know what the hell this is. Like, I know what the originals are, obviously, but this felt like a reboot or a sequel that kind of came out of nowhere. It almost looks like straight to VOD level with what I've seen thus far. I even heard there was like some legal issues with it, so I really don't know what this is. I've seen a lot of people in the horror community get excited about it, but for me, I'm just like, what is this, like a fan film that just got like a studio production behind it and they're actually getting a theatrical release? Like, what is this? But I don't know. For now, I'm going to stick it and skip it because the trailer, I mean, he's just dragging a Christmas tree. So, okay, zombies at Christmas. That's all I know. That's all I know about this. And I enjoy the first Return of the Living Dead a lot. I enjoy the third one a lot. Still have yet to see the second one, but I never hear anything good about it. Coming back to it all these years later and not having some of the original cast involved, or maybe they've announced that and I just missed it. I don't know. There's just something about this that gives me like fan film vibes. Scary movie. So now we're on to the section of movies that don't have an actual release date, but these are movies that are supposedly going to come out this year or have been announced for sure to come out this year and just haven't chosen a date. The Scary Movie reboot. This is the first time the Wayans brothers will be involved with these films since the first two. And you know what? I am so fucking ready for them to come back. I'm putting it up and go out and buy it. I love the first two Scary movies. And I just said I'm not a big spoof guy, but I love the first two Scary movies. There was a time there in the early 2000s where they really hit for me. I was the right age. It was based off of movies I was very passionate about. So there's a few that I love. And the first two Scary movies are it. I think the Wayans brothers coming back to this is exactly what comedy needs. Because they're going to go for fucking broke. And that's what I want to see. I just see a lot of potential of like horror movies over the last 20 years that they can make fun of. I think it's going to be a gold mine of comedy if they do it right. Now we have a movie that I didn't even know was a fucking thing until I was researching some releases for this video. Dirty Dancing. Did you know that there's a Dirty Dancing sequel coming out this year? Neither did I. I'm going to stick it and stream it only based off of my faith in the director. The director is, I wrote it down here. The director is Jonathan Levine, who has done a lot of dramedies that I really like. And so I think about the tone of his movies and apply it to Dirty Dancing. Jennifer Grey has been announced to come back. And I'm wondering, is this going to be like a garbage, like way too late sequel that nobody asked for and everybody's just going to look at this and it's going to be like Basic Instinct 2? And we're, nope, no thank you. Take that away, please. Or is this potentially going to be something that is very heartfelt? I could see some version of this with Jennifer Grey going back to this resort. Obviously, Johnny is dead because Patrick Swayze has been passed away for a number of years at this point. And maybe her teaching somebody, like, I don't know. I could see some really sentimental, heartfelt, nostalgic version of this with Jonathan Levine's comedy that could end up being very good and a huge surprise. But I more easily could see this being a dumpster fire. So I'm going to stick it in the middle there. We'll see. That was something I was like, that can't be real. Nope, it's fucking real. Believe it or not. Now we have Death of a Unicorn. This is a film that was on my most anticipated because the trailer looked awesome. It looked hilarious, a very fun concept. I'm going to stick it in to go out and buy it because if the movie is as funny as the trailer, I'm going to really enjoy this one. It's a wacky, weird, wild concept, but you know what? I'm here to have fun with it. I'm here all day long for that one. Now we have The Smashing Machine. This is a film that I believe is A24. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Benny Safdie, one of the Safdie brothers, teaming up to do a biopic on a boxing MMA fighter. And what interests me the most about this is The Rock finally doing something that is serious, doing a drama, doing something that actually could be like a challenge for him as far as a performer goes. I don't know how good it's going to be, so I'm going to stick it to be safe into Stream It because I don't know anything about the guy this is based off of, and it could very easily be a movie that's okay but has a really good central performance. I got to see a trailer first before I can say how awesome this is going to be. But I'm rooting for it because I really liked The Rock way back in the day, and I'm just sick of what that guy does now. I want to see him do something else, so I hope this is successful enough to push him to want to do more things like it. All right, now we've got Poonaverse. Poonaverse. So we have the Twisted Childhood universe. I have already dropped my review of Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare, hence why it's not on this list. And this year we're also supposed to get Bambi the Reckoning, Pinocchio Unstrung, both of which we'll talk about here in a second. And then Poonaverse is like the culmination movie, the Avengers Assemble movie. And on one hand, I feel like it's going to be impossible to make a movie like that without totally leaning into the ridiculousness, without totally leaning into the campy side of things and just having a blast with it. But history has shown that these guys don't necessarily like to do that. They did it a little bit in Blood and Honey 2, but then Peter Pan, they went back on it. And it just feels like that's not necessarily the direction that they want to go, which is fine. So it's really going to depend on how much fun I have with the movie. So I'm going to be safe and I'm going to stick it and Stream It. Like when I talked about with Screamboat, these aren't necessarily my thing. Movies based off of childhood characters trying to do like a low budget slasher version of them. I don't have a great track record with them so far. And I don't have the best track record with this specific franchise so far. But that one could be fun. We'll see. Now we have Bambi the Reckoning, and I got to be honest with you, like as much as I want these guys to succeed, as much as I do want to champion them after, meeting them and mending fences with them and everything, genuinely cool dudes, I have no interest in the Bambi film. So I'm going to put it and skip it. I feel like as much as I gave faith to Peter Pan and even Poonaverse, and, we'll talk about Pinocchio here in a minute, I could see some way to have fun with that. I don't see that with Bambi. That one's the one where I'm like, I don't know. That one doesn't sound like it's got a whole lot of meat on the bones. A Quiet Place Part 3. I don't have a whole lot of faith it's going to come out this year. I feel like we would have known more about it, but it is on the calendar for this year. And if and when it comes out, I think it's going to be a go out and buy it because I love the first two. I really enjoyed Quiet Place Day 1 as well, not nearly as much as the other ones, but this is continuing the story of the main family, and I would assume would probably be like the closer of their story, and then they'll just stick to spin-offs and everything like that. So I have every bit of faith that when John Krasinski comes back to finish the story, it's going to be awesome. Now we have Horizon Chapter 2, and the first one was very complicated because it's like really well directed. It's masterfully shot. It's epic in every sense of the word, but it was 3 hours long and felt like it was barely covering the first act of a story. This is the second act where things should start to ramp up a little bit. So I'm going to put Stream It because just like with the first film, it just feels, like cinematic where you need to see it on a big screen. It'd be nice to see it on a big screen, but it feels like the type of experience that was meant more for like a mini series that you would watch at home, but it's been given the budget and you got somebody on the level of Kevin Costner directing it, so it's going to get that theatrical bump. So I don't know. We'll see. If it's a lot more entertaining than the first one, it could easily go up a little bit more, but the first one was well done, but hard to get through. Thanksgiving 2, another film that we're supposed to get this year, but still hasn't slated a release. And I'm going to be safe and say stream it because that's where I put the first one. The first one I enjoyed. The first one I thought the gore was great. I thought that the Thanksgiving theme was really cool. There was a lot of really surprising things with that one. But I didn't like the killer reveal. I didn't like a lot of the characters. In general, I just don't like the way that Eli Roth writes his characters, and I don't assume that's going to change with this one. And I also don't really know how much of a surprise factor we're going to have with a sequel. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be awesome. Maybe it'll be diminishing returns. We'll find out. The Strangers Chapter 2. No. I hate the fact that I'm assuming the worst of it, but you give me no choice when you give me The Strangers Chapter 1. What the fuck was that? That was one of the most embarrassing horror films that I saw of last year. It made my bottom 10 of the year. And I've seen, I think they put a little teaser trailer out or whatever, and it's like, okay. So I'm assuming the townsfolk are all like the Strangers. That's all I can guess from what they're doing. Like, this trilogy is supposed to like build out the lore of the Strangers somehow. The first one was literally just a cheap knockoff remake of the first film. Yeah, no faith in that one. I'm sorry. Wake Up Dead Man. This is the third Knives Out film, and just going with the track record, we're going to go out and buy it because I loved Knives Out. I loved Glass Onion, and I think this one is going to be just as good. I have no reason to expect that it's not going to be. I love that character played by Daniel Craig. I really enjoy Rian Johnson as a director. Get over The Last Jedi. I don't like it either, but he does fucking awesome with everything else but The Last Jedi. So I think it's going to be awesome. I have no reason to think that it's going to be anything less. Pinocchio Unstrung is the last one here. And much like with Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, I feel like there's potential to have fun here. Now, I don't know what tone they're going to go for because they went ultra dark and serious with Peter Pan. Maybe they'll do the same thing with Pinocchio. Pinocchio feels even more inherently silly than Peter Pan in a lot of ways. So I really don't know. It's going to depend. But one thing that I do have a little interest in is that a couple of casting of Pinocchio, you have, I believe Richard Brake was cast as Geppetto, and I think Robert Englund was cast as Jiminy Cricket, or Jiminy, maybe. I don't know if they said Cricket. Taking a lot of liberties with these movies, so I don't know if there's going to be a cricket or not. That's interesting. So we'll see. I'm also going to stick this one and stream it with Puniverse. It'll be a really, really interesting day when these guys make a movie and I go, holy shit, that's awesome. Go out and buy it. Like, that's going to surprise a lot of people. And I'll be happy to drop that review and message them and be like, guys, I finally loved one. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Pinocchio cutting the strings and becoming a murderous little puppet. You know, maybe that'll lean into the Child's Play kind of thing, which I love. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Well, that is it, guys. That is the final tier list of all of the 2025 releases that I know of, that I am interested in, and that is where I think they're probably going to land by the end of the year. I'm sure this is going to be wildly inaccurate. There's a lot of movies that I just gave the best hopes for. There's a lot of movies that I assume the worst of because of the track record, and we always have some surprises in store every time we have a year of movies. So this is a public playlist, or excuse me, a public tier list. If you want to do your own version of this, you can tag me on social media or whatever, and I'll put the link of that in the video description below so that you can make your own. But let me know in the comment section, what do you think of this? Which movies do you think I have wildly wrong? Which ones do you think are going to be amazing that I have no faith in? Which ones do you think are going to suck that I have a lot of faith in? Let me know all of those down in the comment section below, guys, and let me know if you enjoyed this idea, and if it succeeds, maybe we'll do it again in 12 months. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, click over here for a playlist of all my other tier list videos. And if you want to talk about last year's movies, I did a ranking of all 130 films I saw in 2024. If you still want to talk about the past, check that out. Like, share, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss everything for the year of 2025, including the reviews of every single one of these movies, likely. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.